This episode contains situations and themes that may be distressing for some listeners. Listener discretion is advised. "Captain," said he, "just now Carlini would not drink to your health when I proposed mine to him, and let us see if he will be more condescending to you than to me." Everyone expected an explosion on Carlini's part, but to their great surprise, he took a glass in one hand and a flask in the other, and filling it, "To your health, Diavolaccio," said he calmly, and he drank it off, without his hand trembling in the least. Then sitting down by the fire, "My supper," said he. "My expedition has given me an appetite." "Well done, Carlini!" cried the brigands. "That is acting like a good fellow." And they all formed a circle around the fire, while Diavolaccio disappeared. Carlini ate and drank as if nothing had happened. The bandits looked on with astonishment at this singular conduct until they heard footsteps. They turned around and saw Diavolaccio bearing the young girl in his arms, her head flung back, her long hair swept the ground. As they entered the circle, the bandits could perceive, by firelight, the unearthly pallor of the young girl and of Diavolaccio. This apparition was so strange and so solemn that everyone rose, with the exception of Carlini, who remained seated and ate and drank calmly. Diavolaccio advanced amidst the profound silence, and laid Rita at the captain's feet. Then everyone could understand the cause of the unearthly pallor in the young girl and the bandit. A knife was plunged to the hilt in Rita's left breast. Everyone looked at Carlini. The sheath in his belt was empty. Ah, said the chief. "I now understand why Carlini stayed behind." All savage natures appreciate a desperate deed. No other of the bandits would, perhaps, have done the same, but they all understood what Carlini had done. Okay, all right. Well, let's pour one out for Rita. By God, you never even had a chance. How tragic your story was. Let's not take it for granted. Let's give her some agency and think of the life she led and could have led had she not encountered this rough and evil set of dudes. God dang. What is the point of this? Sorry, I don't want to take an angry stance against Dumas or the story here, but I got to be honest with you. The premise of the podcast, doing a page a day, is really rough right now, folks. I've been very clear about losing the thread a little bit and having to. Okay, we talked a little bit about exploitation yesterday, and I just want to wrap up one quick comment on that, which is, I think people, audiences, readers are willing to go a long, long way with you as an artist if they trust you. And I'm not saying I don't trust Dumas, but forcing us to absorb this amidst a story within a story without a clear point or direction, I'm assuming we're getting to one. I mean, this can't just be so frivolous and interlude that it means nothing to the story. But if where you push something means something to a character, to the narrative, to the story, to a commentary, to a theme, audiences are willing to go a long, long way with you. Where I struggle when I watch a lot of exploitation things is when there's no initial emotional attachment to a character. There is no clear understanding of what the artist is doing. And I don't necessarily mean like you need to lay out your thesis statement up front, because that's clearly not what Dumas is doing here. But I'm thinking of, like, would we call Michael Haneke an exploitation director? Maybe, but not in the typical sense of like the 70s and 80s exploitation films that we see. But thinking of like Michael Haneke, you know from the outset, through his style, through his intentionality, through his just control over the craft, that whatever he does is going to be for some greater purpose. And so you can be uncomfortable and watch something and feel disgusting afterward, but it changes you, hopefully for the better. It might, for some of us, put images and thoughts and ideas in our heads we wish we had never encountered. I hear that a lot with the movie Funny Games. I watched one of his movies, was it last year, the year before maybe, called The Seventh Continent, which is somewhat based on a true story. I'm not even going to relate to you what it's about. Suffice it to say that it is, it put things in my head, ideas and situations, scenarios, made me sit with a character contemplating things that I didn't want a firsthand account of. I don't regret watching it, but, and I know that ultimately Haneke was making a pretty important point, or holding up a mirror, as distorted as it might have been, to a certain part of society. And it's probably good for me to have experienced that, but I don't feel good about it. Some of the feelings that movie gave me, I wish I didn't have so easily to call upon now. But it's hard to say I don't regret it. Oh, man, am I being messy with this or what? Suffice it to say, we're getting this story within a story. It's dealing with some really hard stuff. And I know it's got to be heading somewhere, but I'm really struggling with it just because of how disconnected everything feels right now. I feel like we just started from scratch with this story with Franz, and then we started yet again with this story from Vampa, and now we're in a story about Carlini, and on, stretching that contract I have with the story of Monte Cristo that thin, and then you add this heaviness to it, it's starting to really push upon my, I wouldn't even say tolerance. I feel like I got an unbreakable tolerance, but it's straining things for me. I'm having a hard time here, folks. Did you notice that I didn't even summarize exactly what happened? Because I just don't want to engage with it. I think you and I both got it. We don't need to go into it any further than the passage gave us. In fact, tomorrow, if this level of story is going to continue, I'm going to, here's what I'm going to do. At the back of the book of the copy of Three Musketeers that I read, there were 3 contemporary reviews that I believe are in public domain because they're almost 100 years old or more at this point. So maybe we'll read some reviews of the Three Musketeers just to see what critics of the time were saying about Dumas. In fact, I'm going to go get that book now before I record the next episode so that I have it, and we will be ready to go. So join me here tomorrow. Please join me here tomorrow. I can't go through this alone. Until then, okay, goodbye. The Countdown of Monte Cristo is part of the Gruntwork Podcast Network. This show is produced, edited, and hosted by Landon Solano. The original text of The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas. Theme song by Magic Solo. If you want to support the show and others like it, visit patreon.com/gruntworkpod. Thank you for listening. See you tomorrow.